Call the meeting to order. Application Screening Committee meeting number 1. 1.0 called to order. 2.0 committee member introduction. So we go around the table, just have everybody say a little bit about yourself, maybe how long you've been in Crook County. Do you have children, grandchildren in the school system, something like that? Let's start with you, Steve.
Okay, Steve Forrester, I've been here a while. So I think I'm the 5th generation. With my family that lives in Prineville, so I'm your city manager. Wife and I have a couple of subway branches in Prineville. I'm in Shutes County farmer. I graduated with all my 12 years of schooling were here at Crook County High School. Oh, I got sawdust in my veins too.
Steve McGuire, currently retired, resident of Crook County. Essentially all my life, moved here from Wisconsin when I was a year old. And then left for a period of time when electrical lumber went out of business. I still like to eat, so I ended up in California and Washington for a period of time, but came back home. Currently have
You
one,
and I were in Russia at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's been to Russia.
yeah. Yeah, and worked overseas for a period of time, but I have a granddaughter, senior right now in high school, and have 5 sisters and a brother, and all went through school here in Crook County. All my grandkids gone through school here in Crook County and often doing well, so that's my best interest in being here.
My turn. I'm Joanne Hemphill. I have 2 kids. My daughter graduated from Crook County last year. She goes to OIT this year. I have a 16-year-old son. I've lived here since I was in the 8th grade. Worked for Stoner Electric, and I just chase kids, chase them around on their sports.
I'm Wayne Looney. My wife and I, Pam, have been residents here for about 20 years now. The 20 years previous to that, we were in Pendleton, Oregon, and I was a teacher coach there for those 20 years. I'm retired now after 30 years of that go around, which I enjoyed. But in any case, we moved here, bought a piece of property that we really enjoyed, built a home that we still reside. And we have 2 children, 4 grandchildren. The 2 children live in the valley. I was born and raised outside of Salem, Oregon, on a farm, and it was a good place for me. We've been on this side of the mountains, as I said, for about 4 years now, and went to Willamette University and went to Oregon Graduate School, and we enjoyed our years here. Find the community really supportive, strong community.
I'm Kevin Bradley. I've been in Crook County for about 44 years. I've had, my daughter went to Crook County High School. I've got a whole herd of grandchildren, some presently going to Crooked River Elementary. I spent about 12 years with the Bureau of Land Management and Wildland Fire, and then 28 years at Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council running the youth program there. I was a youth program manager over our alternative schools, which we had in Lakeview, Lapine, Bend, Deschutes County Corrections, Redmond, Prineville, Warm Springs, and Matthews.
I'm Linda Pepper. I've been here, moved from the Gresham metro area, pushing 40 years ago. Retired teacher from this district, spent my entire teaching career. Have a grandson that'll be entering the Crook County School District system shortly next year. So definitely have a vested interest in where things are going on in the future. My background is, got my master's degree from OSU. Got my admin degree from Lewis and Clark, so. And all those years I spent with the district, I was on many different committees and hiring this and review committee that, so hopefully I can bring some of that experience to the table.
Thanks for having me. My name is Debbie Wood. I work over at the extension office and I've been over there for about 10 years. We've got 3 kids. Our daughter is a junior this year. And our 2 sons have graduated from Kirk County. Our kids have went all the way through an elementary school and one's down in Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and the other one is at Oregon State.
My name is Callista Sonstad, and I am probably the newest member of Kirk County on this board. I've lived here about 4 years with my family. I've got 4 sons. 2 are out of school. One is a sophomore, partly homeschooled with me and partly at the high school. He plays football and wrestles and does track through the high school. And then I've got a 6th grader that's at home homeschooled with me. Probably my biggest contribution in the district has been curriculum review time, specifically math. That's kind of where my passion lies. So I try to be the most helpful there. And I am the president of a commercial fishing business in Alaska.
And missing tonight, she couldn't make it, is Kathy Puckett. So if we go to 3.0, discussion of application screening process. So have you all received the notice about Wednesday? It closes on the 5th, so we plan to meet Wednesday at 5:30 here. And we'll review applications. I'm here to any feedback on, anybody have any thoughts about how to go about the screening process? Are you looking to interview, or are you okay with just applications, or do you want to wait and make that call until after we look at applications? What do y'all think?
We know how many applications that have been received by the school district,
Right now we have 3.
and we had 3 openings.
2 openings,
And how many applicants?
3
3.
so far. It closes tomorrow at 5 p.m. or Wednesday at 5 p.m. And are they at least, both zones have at least an application. They're not all 3 to 1 with the seats.
Yeah, we have 1 application for zone 1 and 2 applications for zone 3.
Does anybody have a feel for expectations of receiving more applications?
Don't know. I haven't had anyone reach out to say that they're gonna apply, and I'm just waiting for an application, so I really don't know.
In my opinion, or my 2 best words, given that that's all we have for applicants currently. I think without a doubt, we need to each review the applications. And even if we had maybe 1 or 2 more applicants, I think an in-person interview would be very, very helpful.
Okay, would you favor the whole group in the interview?
I do. One of the things that I've experienced when we've interviewed people for jobs similar to this is each one of us was able to submit a question that we thought would be pertinent to the job that was available. And this group would take a look at those questions and see what everybody thought was really of value. And, screen down and get 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever that we thought was sufficient. But I think it's nice for every applicant to be questioned, if we just decide to do that, the same questions. So everybody has a chance to respond in the same fashion.
So I think what we found out, Tammy said the further that the meeting schedule went out, the less people could make it. So if we we did screening applications on Wednesday. I guess the question would be, how many folks could make it Thursday or Friday? The 6th and 7th for interviews, and what would be, we can talk, I guess we can talk further about that on Wednesday night. Give people time to look. I'm assuming evenings are easiest for everybody. If that sounds okay. We'll see where we go on Wednesday, but for now,
Mr. Bradley, you saying the schedule meeting for Friday then?
I guess that would need to have a over 24-hour notice too, Tammy.
Yes, but I could post that, I could post it on, let's see, Wednesday, I could get up first thing Thursday morning. And then we would have over our 24-hour notice.
How many people could make it on Friday
I
evening?
mean, I'm retired, so
Me too.
pretty flexible.
Yeah,
I can do
You can be-
Thursday, not Friday.
you can do Thursday. Okay. And we don't know about Kathy.
I'm not able to make it Friday, I'm so sorry.
Not Friday.
I can't
So
make it.
Thursday is, how about Thursday? Would that work?
Thursday
Okay.
works.
We could do Thursday, then Tammy, you could send that out, the notice tomorrow or Wednesday morning. That work?
We could do it Wednesday morning.
Okay,
We could notice it, but we won't have contacted our candidates yet. We
Right.
shouldn't know until Wednesday night,
mhm,
but we could notice it that we were gonna conduct interviews, but we won't have identified our candidates yet. So we won't know candidates are available.
right.
When, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I have another question,
Mhm.
comment. Wayne, as I look through the questions around the applications, a lot of those questions are what we call. Kind of boilerplate of questions that we might come up with ourselves. I think there'd be a lot of overlap there. I agree with you 100% on an in-person interview. I think that'd be really helpful. But they've answered, I assume, like you fill out the application, you answer all the questions. What it might, just a suggestion is, like, I can see some of these questions, like, what would you do with a board decision that you didn't agree with, or something like that? Can you expand on that? Pick out some questions amongst our group here that we could ask the applicant to talk to us about. Might be a way. Otherwise, I think we're gonna have a lot of overlap here where we have already answered some questions. But I think diving into their answers might be another way to accomplish what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. And it's probably more efficient. You know, I noticed that we had a list of typical questions, possible questions, and if we want to file our own list out of that,
Yeah.
we should certainly take a look at those and try to
Yeah,
filter down, or we could be here until the sun comes up.
And private question that came to my mind after reading this, that it's not evident in this list of questions, it's asking each applicant if they have a family member that's currently employed by Cook County School District. And the reason to ask that is gives that person an opportunity to declare any conflict of interest.
Or you
Yeah.
can ask that question if they have a conflict, any conflicts.
Yeah. Part of the reason we're here, I think, is because that has happened in the not too distant future in the school district, and if an applicant has a chance to declare that up front, it'd make it head off a lot of problems down the road.
So question number 4, isn't that what it's kind of mentioning?
Well, I think that's asking more if you have a relative, or a student in Cook County School District. That's different than somebody that's employed,
Right.
that's currently employed.
Steve, I think that's a great question, and maybe to be framed in And it's asking that exact question, or do you have any potential conflicts?
Yeah.
It could be detrimental to this, your position on the board. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying, Wayne, is maybe you could come up with a few questions in addition to dive into those.
Well, I think your point's really well taken. Employee is an important hurdle. But also sometimes having a student
Yes.
it can be a real, have a lot of bearing on person's decisions. And so that's a good thing to know. I think we can decide whether we think that's important or not. Person, but it's a good thing to know. And I've been on that side where some of the students have a profound influence on that household. You know, and it can make a lot of difference in how they react to those situation that comes about. And important. I have another question here. I hope this eventuality doesn't ever occur. What happens if we have 4 applicants? And, you know, we have somebody for each one of the zones, but we're not happy with the applicants at all. You know, I think it's, often wise to consider that we have a time frame that makes it really difficult. But I don't get very comfortable with putting somebody in a position that we don't think they're really, capable of being effective.
I think, you know, Wayne, that's occurred to me as well, and my assumption, Joel, is that we're not the decision makers here. We're the.
No, that's
So I
right.
think if we found ourselves in that position, that's exactly what we felt, we report to the board.
Yeah, I think the recommendation could be not a recommendation.
That could be, okay,
That's the
I guess that was my question.
Yeah,
I
so I
think that's a very legitimate recommendation.
it absolutely is. Yeah. And I think, there's a couple ways to do that. If we're an advisory committee, are we a consensus committee, or are we simply saying this is the data that we came up with as individuals? I don't know. Are you?
Something we can dig into a little bit more. I know the outcome the board was looking for was just a recommendation from this committee, so we can kind of tease that out to see exactly what that technicalities around it, whether it's consensus or, and we can, Tammy and I can go back and look through the minutes and bring that back to you guys on Wednesday, just clarity around those questions.
Yeah.
I think if there's a consensus, that gets pretty easy. If there's not a consensus, maybe that's what we say is we can't come to a consensus. But back to your point, or otherwise we could be here for months. Trying to get to a consensus.
And Tammy was nice enough to bring a rubric in front of all of you that could help us kind of whittle down our process. I guess we're kind of looking for is not having to create too many new things. If the goal is to have a recommendation ready by Monday for the school board. If not, I would assume they would have to either have a special school board meeting or, and I know that's very rushed, but I think if we can meet Wednesday, do some interviews, we should be able to come to a consensus by Friday, Friday, to bring to the school board. One way or the other.
Well, would it, I mean, I'm probably stating the obvious, would it also be possible that we might have a recommendation for one zone, but not necessarily the other? That's a
so.
possibility, and that would be as such as we would recommend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other, this is kind of a short meeting, but we just thought to get everybody and see some faces to the names. And if we can agree then that we will meet Wednesday at 5:30. We'll be looking at interviews on Thursday evening, and Tammy will post that meeting notice. And I would guess then Thursday, we probably will need to come to a conclusion as far as additional questions. Let's see, Thursday, we would have to do that probably tonight. If we want some additional questions. added to this because of the notice to the next meeting.
Well, I would suggest a question about any family members currently employed in the school district.
You got that, Tammy?
Mhm.
Okay, are there any others?
Can we add to that, Steve, and say, I like the way you framed it, perfect, or any other potential conflicts that you want to share
Sure.
with us?
Trying to meet, Thursday, then that'd be for 5:30 also.
Yeah,
This isn't really a question, but more of just thinking it through. I know that the school board at the last meeting was hoping to look for somebody that actually would put their name out for the election. Could you, Joel or Tammy or somebody, could you kind of explain what timeframes are in terms of the person that potentially could be appointed soon, and then where elections would go after that?
Yep. Tammy, you want this one? You want me to take it? Yep, so the election would be the May 15th election, that then they would be seated as a board member July 1st. So the current board, and then the two people that potentially you'll recommend will fill out from, you know, February, whenever that recommendation is, through June 30th. And then if they decide to run, and the deadline is, I want to say the filing deadline is March 15th.
Yes.
So then if the people you recommend, if they file and get elected, then they would just continue on. If they don't run or don't get elected, then their term would be done March 30th. And we'd have whoever was elected begin July 1st.
June 30th, not March 30th.
Sorry, June 30th.
Okay. Sorry, and there was a comment at the last meeting, and it confused me a little bit, and what was said was that if we helped get someone appointed to that seat prior to that March 15th filing deadline, that they would be through June 30th, but that if they didn't get it filled prior to that filing deadline, then it would go to the 2027, and that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, there's interesting nuanced language in the policy. And we can bring that policy back to you when you guys meet on Wednesday, where there is some timelines of whether when they're seated, whether they would finish the term. So in this case, zone 1, zone 3's term, those both go till 2027. But if they're seated prior to the election, then it goes to a vote to the voters. So we'll bring that language to you guys as well, just because we had to read it a couple times because it's very nuanced and technical.
okay, anything else?
The only other thing I would add, and I apologize, I didn't really read over this, but as I know many of you are aware, there's a lot of trainings by OSBA, did I get the initials right?
We got lots of trainings.
Yeah, but I would also, somebody that would be willing short-term and or long-term to go to those trainings and, you know, how to be a board member 101. I mean,
Are those trainings over at the ESD, or were you
You know, we've got a couple of
crossing over to
trainings
Salem?
on the horizon. So OSBA, Oregon School Boards Association, they host kind of on demand. We can say, hey, we've got new board members. Can you come to a work session and get them trained? And that's just kind of being a board member 101.
Mhm.
And then there's also OGEC, Oregon Governmental Ethics Commission or Committee. They also, they're over all the public meetings. So we want to get some training around that as well. So we would, I think we're gonna actually proactively schedule OGEC training so that the board members are familiar with the public meeting laws, you know, public records laws, all those things. So we would look to have both an OGEC and an OSBA training this spring, and we would definitely expect the board members to take part in that. So yeah, a question around whether you're open to after hours meetings on trainings, I think is definitely something we want someone to be interested in.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Linda, because I think there is a question in here about time.
Well, and maybe just an addendum to that is
Is
How-
number 8.
you know, what is your experience or what is your familiarity with public? You know, meetings and your experience with those and all that, because I think that, you know, with somebody that is experienced with that at whatever level would be, that would be a piece versus somebody that, I don't know, never done it before.
Yeah.
Excluding them, not at all, but to have that piece of information. I think
Yeah,
really-
Robert, we got one question, you know, that Steve initiated, but I think put that in some kind of a question slash talking point. It'd be nice to have at least 2, 3, 4 questions
Mhm.
besides digging into the
Yeah.
questions on our application. So
Well, I think we could expand question number 8, because it talks about a time commitment of 12 hours, but we could expand that to.
Yeah, I
And
guess
that
that's what
could
I'd
be
like as
more.
a talking point.
well, yeah, but
That doesn't
but have a talking point to initiate a conversation
Yeah.
with the applicants. I think, Linda, you're onto something there.
Yeah,
The other question I like that has been used in lots of different venues, private, public, both, is, you know, have the applicant, discuss a conflict that they were in recently and how do they resolve it? Now, some of these questions, there's one in there kind of alludes to that, but that might be another one, so we could add now 3, say, share a recent experience where you had a conflict and how you were able to resolve that conflict or something like that.
Or what you learned from it.
What, yeah, that type of thing, just to initiate conversation to get a feel for their personality and their management style or their leadership style. And so
Yeah,
if we could have, you know, come up with, you know, 2 or 3 just to add on to this, I think would be really. We want to have that dialogue, and that's, from my perspective, that's how we're gonna kind of learn. You know, are they a fit for the organization?
well, I think we should add those now, then, should we not?
Yeah.
yeah, and I like how you phrase that, Steve, where it's kind of a talking point. It's not necessarily a question with a specific answer. It's
Right.
more like, let's frame it together where it's
Yeah.
a little open as to how they would approach
There you
it.
go. Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
Do you think you have a talking point or something we could add to this?
She's got it.
Yes, I'll draft that up so you can review it on Wednesday night. We
Okay.
can make any final changes.
That's
That
great.
sounds okay.
That's perfect.
It's good.
Okay, anything else? Don't want to keep anyone longer than need be tonight. Wednesday could maybe be later. Perhaps. Everybody good? All right, I'll adjourn the meeting then.